Greetings, it is time for another monthly update on the EV transition, which is the biggest technological transition going on in the world right now, the most impactful technological disruption going on in the world right now. And that is why I do an update about this almost every month. So as always, we start with my Atom Award of the Month for December 2018. So people seeing this for the first time should watch the next couple of minutes, but if you have watched many of the prior monthly update videos, you may want to skip ahead a couple of minutes. So I wrote this article in December of 2018 predicting that the EV electrical vehicle transition was going to be extremely rapid from this point. If you go down to images like this one, this was an image as of December 2018, and you could see how quickly the EV sales numbers were rising. Each of these months was the months of a respective year, as you can see in this lower legend over here, from 2010 all the way through 2018, and you can see this rapid rise. Now, as we will see later in this video, 2018 becomes the first year in the subsequent chart that we're going to see, but for now, 2010 to 2018, a rapid rise, almost 50 to 100% a year in many cases, albeit from a very small base. So you go back to the article. I also pointed out how commercial and government vehicles were going to have to be the inflection point for the normalization of EVs, because individual purchase decisions are one thing, but when an entire fleet of government or commercial vehicles decides to go EV, that creates a lot more volume and economies of scale and normalization. For example, the United States has 800,000 police cars and 210,000 US Postal Service vans. If all of those were EVs, that would be a dramatic change, because that would be a lot of gasoline that is no longer being consumed and has moved over to electric. And these types of vehicles are very suitable for electric because the US Postal Service van, it has to make 100 stops every day. Every few feet it makes a stop. Police cars are driving around all day, but usually don't go very far from their main office because they are the police of just one particular town. And if it's a relatively small town, they stay within a small area that they patrol. And after that, there are private sector numbers such as 110,000 UPS vehicles, 60,000 FedEx vehicles, and perhaps as many as 300,000 pizza delivery vehicles. And now you have DoorDash and things like that as well. So once these go to electric, then it's easier for individual consumers to go to electric vehicles, for sure. Now, why is this transition happening so quickly? Well, for that, we go to this battery chart. This chart is from The Economist, and the data is from the US Department of Energy. And look at the chart on the right-hand side. It's the more important of the two. From 2008 to 2022, which is right now, battery cost was projected to fall by a factor of 10, from $1,000 per kilowatt hour to 100, so a 10x improvement. But also look at the maroon scale on the right-hand side. Battery energy density was to rise from 100 watt hours per liter to 400. So a 4x increase. So if you combine the two, 10x improvement here and 4x improvement here, you get a 40x improvement in the cost effectiveness of the batteries of an electrical vehicle. 40x. That is why electric vehicles are getting better and better every year almost. And that is why you're seeing a rapid growth rate of 50 to 100% increase in unit sales year over year when you take a specific month into account to account for seasonality. And to see what the latest data is, we now go to the article at Inside EVs. So now we have our Inside EVs article. Global plug-in electric car sales reached a new record in November 2022. What does that mean? Over here, we see the results through November of 2022. Battery electric vehicles are now 13% share. Plug-in hybrid electric vehicles are 5% share, and the grand total, which is the sum of all new cars sold that are either fully battery electric or plug-in hybrid electric EVs, is 18% share, and that is up 46% year over year. So it has a high annual growth rate even off of a base that's not very small anymore. Growth rates like this were fine when it was under 1% of all new cars sold, but now 18% share. And going back to 2021, I said that 2023 and 2024 would be the time when we experience a shatterpoint. We could be consistently above 20% share over most of 2023 and get into the high 20s. And that will cause the gasoline economy to just experience a shatterpoint, which I'll describe in a few minutes. Now, if you want more granular data, we go to this chart over here. Now, this is a pretty complicated chart, so I'll show you how to read it. These color codes are 5 individual calendar years, 2018 through 2022. In the first section of this video, you saw 2010 through 2018 and the growth rate from there. And 2018 was the highest year in that scale, but now it's the lowest year in this new scale because we're talking about hundreds of thousands, often over 1 million cars sold per month. And the year-over-year growth is very stark. 5x to 6x, 2018 through 2022. These individual months correspond to the months within each calendar year and therefore smoothing out seasonality. You can also measure pre-COVID-19 and post-COVID-19 deltas, and it's consistently about 5x or 6x more. Eventually, this growth rate will moderate, but it's moderating from a high base. As we saw, this is 18% of all new cars sold, something that seemed almost impossible back in 2005 or 6. Although those who have been reading my futurist blog since the beginning know that I predicted all of this way back in 2007, simply because the oil economy was extremely inefficient and untenable. Now, as we go into 2023, and get more months that are above 20% market share worldwide, we are going to see the much awaited effects of this. And remember that in Western Europe and East Asia, market share is already in the high 20s. It's only the US that still languishes at 5 to 6%. And the main reason to buy an electric vehicle is to have a decentralized supply of power so that you can charge your car overnight at home and don't have to worry about gas stations and things like that. And also the maintenance of an EV might be easier because it doesn't have an internal combustion engine and all of the same fluids. Environmental reasons are actually not the reason to buy an EV because the environmental benefit of an electrical vehicle ahead of an internal combustion engine vehicle is marginal at best. The electricity that they consume is still usually originated from coal and natural gas. Wind and solar electricity are growing as a percentage of total electricity generated, but even those are not extremely clean from an environmental perspective. There's a lot of associated environmental damage from solar as well. So environmental reasons are not the reasons to get an EV. Economic reasons and a decentralized source of power, particularly if you live in a country that imports oil, is the reason. So this is one of the biggest technological disruptions underway in the world right now. However, it is not the highest order disruption from an atom perspective. There is a disruption even higher, which is the work from home telework phenomenon, which has in fact eliminated certain segments of driving outright. So whether you have an internal combustion engine car or an electrical vehicle, work from home is even more technologically pure because information is being exchanged without the expense or time spent in travel. So electrical vehicles are not even the highest order disruption of the commuting, driving paradigm that is already very overdue and deserves to shrink substantially because of the amount of land devoted to gas stations, parking lots, roads themselves, and the amount of the economy devoted to car ownership, car maintenance, car registration, and all associated costs with that. So this was the update for November of 2022's data of electrical vehicles. I will do another update as more data becomes available, but we are getting close to this shatterpoint that I have been talking about for some time. It's going to be exciting to watch because a number of people thought this day could never come, that we don't have to be dependent on this entire import-export economy of oil, which is horrendously inefficient. As I said in prior versions of this video, 15% of all oil is consumed in just the extraction, transportation, and refinement of oil. That itself is a big indicator that this was a temporary stopgap technology and is not something that has a lot of longevity for the future because of the first principles of technology and economics. And if you like this type of content, then I encourage you to subscribe to this channel. Thank you very much for watching.